Have you ever been afraid of the dark? Not just the kind of fear that makes you pull the covers up to your chin, but a deep, primal terror that tells you something is waiting just beyond the edge of the light. For 7-year-old Lily, the dark wasn't just an absence of light. It was a presence. A hungry, listening presence. That's why she always slept with her little bunny lamp on. It wasn't just a lamp. It was a guardian, casting a warm golden halo in her small room, keeping the shadows pinned to the corners where they belonged. Her parents, Mark and Sarah, thought it was just a phase. A childhood fear she'd eventually outgrow. They tried everything: monster spray, nightly checks under the bed, gentle reassurances. But Lily was adamant. The light had to stay on. One Tuesday night, Mark decided it was time to be firm. He tiptoed into Lily's room long after she'd fallen asleep. The bunny lamp cast long, dancing shadows on the wall. He reached for the switch. "It's just wasting electricity," he whispered to himself. He clicked it off, plunging the room into a deep, velvety darkness, broken only by a sliver of moonlight through the curtains. He stood there for a moment, listening to the soft rhythm of his daughter's breathing. See? All was well. He smiled and quietly closed the door. Back in their own bed, just as sleep was pulling them under, a sound jolted them awake. A faint, rhythmic scratching. It seemed to come from downstairs. Mark sat up. "Did you hear that?" Sarah nodded, her eyes wide in the dark. The sound was persistent, like tiny claws on dry wood. It wasn't a mouse. It was too deliberate for that. It sounded dot bigger. The scratching grew louder, closer. It wasn't downstairs anymore. It was coming from right below their feet, from under the floorboards of their own bedroom. Scratch, scrape, scratch. It moved, tracing a path across the floor beneath them, heading directly toward Lily's room. A cold dread, heavy and suffocating, settled over Mark. He looked at Sarah, and he saw his own terror reflected in her eyes. The sound stopped directly under the spot where Lily's bed would be in the room next door. And then a single, sharp rap, like a knuckle on wood, echoed from below. Silence followed. A silence more terrifying than the noise it replaced. Mark leaped out of bed, his heart hammering against his ribs. He threw open the door and sprinted to Lily's room, Sarah right behind him. He fumbled with the doorknob, his hand shaking. He pushed the door open, his mind racing with 1,000 horrible possibilities. The first thing he saw was the light. The bunny lamp was on, its warm, familiar glow filling the room. It cast a comforting light on the little pink bed, the neatly arranged stuffed animals, the bookshelf filled with fairy tales. But the comfort shattered in an instant. The bed was empty. The covers were thrown back as if someone had left in a hurry. But Lily was gone. "Lily?" Sarah's voice was a choked whisper. They searched the room, their calls growing more frantic. They checked the closet, under the bed. Behind the curtains, nothing. It was as if she had simply vanished into thin air. Mark's gaze fell back to the lamp. He hadn't turned it back on. He was sure of it. Who had? As panic began to set in, Mark noticed something on the floor, near the center of the room, right where the scratching had stopped. He knelt, his blood running cold. There, etched into the wooden floorboards, were fresh, deep gouges. They weren't from furniture or toys. They were claw marks. Long, thin scratches that dug deep into the wood, splintering it. They formed a rough, jagged circle, about the size of a dinner plate. And in the center of that circle, something was different. The wood was darker, disturbed. It looked loose. Driven by a desperate, terrifying instinct, Mark wedged his fingers into the cracks. The board creaked and then lifted away easily, as if it had been loosened from below. He peered into the darkness underneath. The air that rose up was cold and smelled of damp earth and decay. It was the smell of a freshly dug grave. Mark shone his phone's flashlight into the hole. The beam cut through the thick darkness, revealing the crawl space beneath the house. And there, lying in the dirt, was something small and white. It was Lily's favorite stuffed unicorn, its white fur smudged with soil. And next to it, Next to it was a patch of freshly turned earth. It was a small mound, just the right size for a little girl. A scream tore from Sarah's throat, a raw animal sound of pure horror. Mark couldn't breathe. He couldn't think. The scratching, it wasn't something trying to get asterisk and asterisk. It was something trying to get asterisk out asterisk. Something buried beneath their house, waiting in the dark, waiting for the light to go out. Lily had known. The 7-year-old girl hadn't just been afraid of the dark. She had been guarding them from it. Her little bunny lamp wasn't just a comfort. It was a beacon, a ward. It was a promise to whatever lay sleeping in the cold earth below. I am here. I am awake. Stay where you are. By turning off her light, they hadn't just plunged her room into darkness. They had broken the truce. They had silenced the guardian. They never saw Lily again. The police investigation found nothing. No signs of a break-in, no ransom note, no trace of the little girl who disappeared from her bed. To the world, it was an unsolved mystery. But Mark and Sarah knew. They knew what had happened. They sold the house, unable to spend another night above that patch of disturbed earth. But they could never escape the memory. Even now, years later, in a new house in a new town, they sleep with every single light on. The hallway light, the kitchen light, the bathroom light. And in the empty room that would have been Lily's, a small bunny lamp glows. Day and night, it's a memorial, a desperate apology. A futile attempt to hold back a darkness that they know is always there, just under the surface, listening and waiting. Waiting for the lights to go out again. Because they learned the hardest way imaginable that some things aren't afraid of the dark. Some things are buried with the light on. Thank you so much for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more Tales from the Shadows. Stay safe and maybe leave a light on tonight.